All right, we are 1 minute into our live at lunch. Off camera, my name is Jared Wade. I'm the communications coordinator for the town of Avon, and today we are talking about economic development as well as planning. If you joined us last time, we had Ryan and Steve. This time we've got John and Bill. Gentlemen, please take a moment, introduce yourself, let the community know who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm John Taylor. I'm the Economic Development Director here in the town of Avon. I've been in development now this is my 30th year. In 30 years, I've worked on nearly $13 billion worth of projects, and every one of them are different. You can have a project that may be a $2 billion project and a project that's only a couple $100,000 of family money, and people still feel like they need to be treated the same, and they get treated the same that way.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Bill, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Bill Peoples. I'm a planning director for the town. I've been in planning and zoning now for about 26, 27 years. I'm sort of a planning gypsy. I started out with the city of Indianapolis and then moved my way over, actually was the Avon planning director between 2002 to 2004, and then to Johnson County, the city of Greenwood, the town of Zionsville, and then here back to Avon. Like I said, I've been doing this sort of development management for about 26, 27 years.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, John. All right, so today we're going to be talking about economic development, talking about planning. Over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of conversation on social and just online in general in regards to businesses coming into the town, all kinds of fun questions about, how does that process work and how do you guys both fit in? So I've got some questions here. If you are watching and you would like to comment, if you want to ask a question, feel free to do so. I will do my very best to go through those and get those questions integrated into this chat. Just to give everybody a heads up, like last time, we're going to try to keep this to around 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops, out of respect for John and Bill. They have all kinds of fun things going on, and we want to make sure that they can get back to focusing on those elements of the town. So let's start with you, John. This first question: when a business is coming, or when they're thinking about coming to Avon, how does that process work? Let's say that there's a business that wants to open up a shop here. Walk us through how that works.
Well, a lot of people think that we just get a phone call and a company comes in and says, I want to open a business, and there's just a lot more to it than that. Our state is led by an organization called the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, and lots of leads for new companies coming to the state of Indiana come through there. We also have a countywide organization called the Hendricks Economic Development Partnership, and they will also get leads, and then sometimes we get direct leads that come to town hall and come to me. But when a company is considering coming here, they ask for a lot of information. They want to know demographics, they want to know how many people live here, how many people are in the county, what kind of road networks we have, what kind of water and sewer systems we have. Then when they come to town, they start looking. We need to find out from our comprehensive plan where that kind of business needs to go. If you think about Avon right now, 36 is mostly all retail. But you look at all the other streets, there's very little retail and a lot of housing. That's because our comprehensive plan tells us where things should be. Currently, we're getting ready to open up 2 business parks for industrial type businesses to come to town. One on 100 South and one up on Reagan, up near the old airport. And as we work with those companies, there are lots of processes they have to go through. They have to get their buildings permitted. They have to get water and sewer permitted. They have to come into town and show us the buildings, the plans of the building, so that people like Bill and the planning commission can look at and say, yes, we accept that, no, we don't accept that. They have to come in and be within the way our ordinance is written before they can build a building.
Yeah, and John, that's a fantastic segue kind of into this next question. And Bill, this is going to be for you. Let's say there are a couple different businesses that are similar in type, similar business structures or whatnot, and they both want to open in Avon. Is that allowed? If so, or if not, can you give a little detail about how that process works? And, is it up to the town? Is it not up to the town to decide who gets to come in here and those business entities?
Well, the town doesn't really pick and choose between the businesses that choose to come to the we establish what's called a zoning ordinance, and the zoning ordinance does sort of broad brushes of different types of land uses. Commercial, typically the big three are commercial, industrial, and residential. And then the zoning ordinance subdivides each one of those into sort of a light commercial, light industrial, heavy commercial, heavy industrial, single family, multifamily. And we establish zones throughout the town. And if a developer or a commercial land use, for instance, wants to come to the town, their first step is usually to find a piece of property that's properly zoned for their land use. And once they find that, and then they come to us and usually either do some sort of development plan approval to build in the town, or just get a commercial building permit to do, say, a tenant remodel in an existing strip center. As far as the actual land use itself or the business itself, we don't pick and choose between them. So if it is a auto parts retailer, for instance, that auto parts retailer could go in a C2 zoning district. If that auto parts retailer chooses a building in the C2 zoning district, or chooses a piece of vacant land that's zoned C2 and build a building in that area, the town doesn't say, well, we like this one, we don't want that one. We simply administer the petition and make sure it complies with our ordinances.
So basically, it's kind of up to the business owners to decide, as long as it's zoned correctly, and they're check marking the boxes that the town of Avon has in place of, hey, you need to meet these requirements. It's really up to the owner of whatever that business might be to fully decide, yeah, we definitely want to go here, already knowing what else is around there.
That's correct, yeah. The owner of the I would say probably about 60-70% of development in the town is generated private sector completely. You'll get the other part where people are sort of looking for locations, and we may help them say, well, these are the areas where it's properly zoned for that land use. But for the most part, when a commercial or industrial land user comes in, they sort of have a site picked out, and our job is to see, yeah, that's the appropriate location, and then to get it through the process to make sure it complies with all of our development regulations.
Fantastic. And a quick follow-up to that, in regards to, businesses that are interested in coming to the town of Avon, does the Avon Town Council get to decide what is opened and what is not opened? Like, just based off of their opinion, do they get to say, yeah, we want that, or no, we don't want that?
No, I mean, in development in Indiana, the role of the town council is pretty strictly defined and is usually pretty general. So the town council has the ability to annex property and also to rezone property. Generally, once it's gone past that place for rezoned, either to say a general zoning classification such as our C2 zoning classification, or a more specific zoning classification such as our plan unit development zoning classification. Once they have made that call, then it's turned over to the plan commission and the town staff for the rest of the development. So the town council's role is usually very high level, strategic, and it's very general. They do not have, say, the veto power to say yay or nay to specific businesses.
Wonderful. Thanks, Bill. John, I'm going to come back to you, my friend. Speaking about economic development, what areas, in your opinion, and from what you're seeing happening, what areas of economic development is Avon lacking in, and what are the plans to kind of fill those little spots and those voids?
Well, if you look at our community, you'll see that we're about 85% housing and about 14% retail, 1% government. And with the tax caps the way they are today, where houses are capped at 1% of the value of the home is the tax. And businesses are capped, industrial businesses are capped at 3%. It's really easy for me to take a look and say, if I've got a 1 million square foot building that costs $50 million to build, and it's got $150 million of personal property inside, and we can tax all that at 3%, versus maybe 100 homes that we can tax at 1%, then what we're missing that those large buildings that have jobs that pay our citizens well. We're missing the kind of jobs that this community needs, the higher paying jobs, like the high-tech jobs, the manufacturing jobs of things like that make parts for cars and hospital equipment and all that kind of stuff. Those are the kind of things that will bring the tax revenue into the community, but also give people a chance to make a good income. You know, it's easy to go out and find companies that will come in and pay $10, $12, $15 an hour. That today is a McDonald's shop, and nothing wrong with McDonald's, but we would like to have the kind of jobs that people can make a career out of. People can go to work in some of these factories and in 15 or 20 years make $50, $60, $70 an hour. That's a good living wage for families to be able to grow, to build a new house and buy a new car. So when I came to town 3 years ago, I was kind of given the directive to go out and try to find big industry, try to bring it to town. You know, when you look at what's in Plainfield, all the big boxes, people say, why would you want that? One of the reasons you want that is the tax. The taxes on those huge buildings and all the equipment inside that help to pay for things like fire department, police department, your hospitals, your library, your schools. It pays for all of that. And if you got a homeowner that's got a $250,000 house and they're paying $2,500 a year in taxes, we need lots and lots of those to make up for one big building.
Yeah,
So industry is what we need.
I like that. It's exciting to see how the town's going to grow and evolve, and new businesses that are going to be coming in here. So we appreciate you helping lead that charge in that area. Bill, we're gonna shift gears just a little bit here, and I'd love to hear your take on if a business wants to come or wants to build here in Avon. You briefly talked about zoning elements earlier, and there are certain times when a business would like to build, but it goes against what regulations are currently in place.
Right.
Can you walk through quickly kind of how that process works if a business does come and say, hey, we want to build this, but it doesn't fit within the regulations that are in place?
Right.
What are their options?
Well, if they're building something that doesn't comply with the regulations, it just depends on what phase it is. So if we're talking about, say, a area where it's zoned to agricultural, for instance, and they want to put industrial or commercial use in it, well, they've got to go all the way back to rezone. And that would be a discretionary petition. So there are certain requests that go through the Plan Commission and the Town Council and the Board of Zoning Appeals that are what are called discretionary, where those boards have the ability to say, yes, we want it, or no, we don't. And it's usually very general, like an annexation, like a rezoning, and some of the variances that the Board of Zoning Appeals hears. If, however, they are properly zoned, and then they file what's called a development plan petition, or a subdivision plat, those are what are called ministerial petitions, which means if the development complies with our ordinances, then the Plan Commission has to approve, or the Board of Zoning Appeals have to approve those petitions. Now, when we get into the gray area where it's 99% compliant, and then there's that 1%, that small deviation, doesn't have the correct amount of landscaping, the curb cut is a little bit closer to the street intersection than we like, then the petitioner always has the option of going to our Board of Zoning Appeals for a variance for certain standards, or to our Plan Commission for a waiver for other standards. And it's up to the Plan Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals to then review those petitions, see if it meets the statutory findings, and then approve or deny those petitions. If on a ministerial petition, the Plan Commission denies a waiver, they have to then give the petitioner enough time to amend their plans and bring them back to in compliance with the rule that they didn't approve. So even if the Plan Commission has, say, a development plan in front of it, and they have denied one or two of the waivers for that petition, they still have to give that petitioner a chance to amend their plans to come into compliance with that rule. And if the petitioner chooses to do that, then the Plan Commission must approve that development plan.
Okay. There was one question that popped up, and it kind of feels like this is the best place to integrate that question. And from the community, they were asking, can you give a bit of an explanation as to why there are some businesses that are in the town that were granted permission to operate a specific way, but they're basically breaking the regulations that we have, and that other businesses are being forced to adhere to? Can you go into a little bit of detail about why something like that would happen?
The most common cases are either at some point in the past, the Board of Zoning Appeals has given them permission to deviate from the regulations through a use variance or a development standards variance. Or the use was established when it was perfectly legal, and the ordinances have changed in the intervening time to make it inconsistent with the zoning ordinance or the subdivision control ordinance. In those instances where the latter has happened, the issue is called a legal non-conforming use. It's a constitutional issue. You can't pass a law and make something illegal. So if something was illegal at one point in time and your laws have changed to change that to an illegal use, they have the right to continue to operate until such time as they abandon the nonconformity. And usually what that means is either it's been vacant for a certain amount of time or they've changed the use to conforming use. So it's a complex situation, zoning is. And if you have a legal non-conforming use, then they have, the property owner has the right to perpetuate that legal non-conforming use until such time as they choose to abandon it. And once they choose to abandon it, then they have to operate consistent with our ordinance and development regulations.
Fantastic. Bill, thank you so much. John, we don't have any extra questions. Like, you've answered everything. There will be no more confusion in the community. Now, if you do have questions, if you have things that John or Bill might be able to give you some more insight on, feel free to send an email to really any of us. It's public knowledge. Emails are out there. You can reach out through the website. You're able to ask those questions, and I'm sure that we'll be able to get those answers to you. John, Bill, thank you so much for taking some time this afternoon and sitting down and talking with me, but also talking with the entire community and giving them a bit of an insight of what you do here and what we're hopefully looking forward to down the road. Because there's lots of cool stuff happening, right, John?
Yes, there is. We have an awful lot that's going to happen this year.
That's good. Well, and I'm excited about sharing that with the community. So, Bill, John, thank you very, very much. And with that,
Thank you.
we'll get out of here.